So, King-Ohger episode 17 might be my favourite episode we've gotten so far of King-Ohger. We saw some awesome fights in this episode, a lot of characters had some really good growth in this episode, but not only that, it's the ending that sold me on this episode, as it's setting up next week's episode where Kira will be getting his brand new power-up. Spoilers if you don't watch the episode previews, but you've probably seen it all over Toku Twitter and social media, and that form was leaked a couple of months ago, if you didn't know. If I just spoiled it for you, I do apologize, but that's sort of the big thing they're doing next week in the episode. But the ending for this week's episode gave me vibes out of something like Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, where you have like shonen in general, where you have like the main character show up and do their dramatic entrance as they're here to save the day, as one of the side characters are fighting for their life and they're making their grand speech, and then you think they're dead, but then they get saved by the hero at the last minute. That's what we got here. That's what we got here, and I freaking loved it. When Gira showed up and you heard the music, and freaking Yama's like saying, "Don't lose," and he goes to punch him, but Gira catches the punch, and Gira says, "I don't plan on losing." That was freaking cool. And then Gira making his big villainous speech at the end of, like, this episode is great. Like, there's so much to love about this episode, even if there's some parts you didn't love about this episode. So, this episode, it picked up where we last left off. I'm jumping all over the place. I'm jumping right into the episode. So, this episode picked up where it last left off, where the Bugnarok were invading Yama's country, and then we find out what the deal that Raculus made with the Bugnarok, and that was when he talks to Jeremy, where he says, "Hey, I made a deal with the Bugnarok to leave me alone. Everyone else, fair game. I'm the only one who made an alliance with them. The other people, you do your thing. This is my alliance that I made." And Jeremy's like, Jeremy's finally learning, which is great. Jeremy's actually having some growth, that this whole like world peace thing, universal peace thing that he wants to do, he's in over his head. He can't achieve it, and the way he's going about it, thinking that like there's good in everyone, or maybe Raculus can be trusted, he's wrong, because Raculus basically shows his true colors in this episode to our heroes. His people are always going to view him as some like savior, but to our heroes, our rangers, like Raculus's true colors are showing, and Jeremy sees that in this episode. And Jeremy is put on trial, and that's when he has this moment where he realizes that he'll be the one making the stories from now on. He's gonna sort of, I might be getting this wrong, because I just finished watching the episode, I'm really freaking excited, because I rewound and watched that final fight scene like a couple of times, but Jeremy says he'll be the one that weaves his own stories, so he has that. Now in this episode we see the debut of the wiki says the incomplete form of the Extreme King-Ohger, so I wonder why it's the incomplete form of Extreme King-Ohger. I guess not all the parts are there. I guess we'll find out later, but it's seeing Nitrolanche. Okay, just clicked why it's called incomplete form for Extreme. It probably needs the Centipede and the Cicada to be complete. Okay, I'm a dummy. I just had that while having the wiki open and looking at it. So, we see Extreme King-Ohger. I'm not a fan of this design so far, where King Tarantula, or Night Tarantula, whatever you want to call it, just gets pushed to the back, but we do see some cool fight scenes in this episode where they use the spider legs and shoot backwards. That was pretty cool. But it looks like this mech is on its way to look like a big clusterfuck, because it's going to be like, I think a 14-piece combination mech or a 20-piece combination mech, if I remember correctly. So it's going to look like a big clusterfuck moving forward, and you can kind of see that here with where the spider is positioned, and then having all the god forms at the front and having those attachments there. So the clusterfuck of this mech is slowly coming together, and we'll see if I like it or not in the end. It will probably do some really cool stuff in the show, but when it comes together, it does look like a big sort of like put them together mess. So like I said at the start of the review, this episode has a big Yanma moment in the end of the episode. I mean, even the episode is named after how Yanma views things, where he will not flee, he will not bow down to anyone, no matter how bad the situation is. And that's what I love about the character Yanma. He's such a badass. Like, he's true to what he stands by, and the dude's had good and consistent writing ever since his introduction episode, and he's probably, like, I haven't seen a lot of Super Sentai. I've seen more Power Rangers than I've seen Super Sentai, and there's not many Super Sentais I've seen from start to finish. I know their suits, but I don't know most of the character traits and the arcs that they go on. But Yanma, he's becoming one of my favorite Blue Rangers we've had in the longest time. Saru Brother was okay, he was not the best. I feel like he was lacking in a bit of development, but Yamma has had that good development since episode 1. And in the episode, when he makes that big speech that he won't bow to anyone, he won't submit to anyone no matter how bad the situation is, because Raculus just wants to get rid of the dude, but he's standing his ground as he's fighting the freaking general dude. Like, it was a freaking great moment in the show, and I really loved it. And Yanma even had a plan, like when his servant, his retainer was saying, oh, we can get out of here, we can flee together with Yamma, and Gira's like, do you think he's the kind of guy that would flee? And then he realizes who he's dealing with, like the retainer is like, oh yeah, shit, you're right. But Yanma giving that big speech, really great. Yamma even had a backup plan within a backup plan when he knew shit was going to go down when that general showed up, when he told Himino to go with the plan, and the plan was that Himino, even though she's selfish and he knows that Himino won't turn down the opportunity to help people in medical situations, so she would be taking all the people to her kingdom to give him the right treatment as his kingdom's like getting torn apart and people are in danger. So I really like that moment with Yanma, and once again, I've said this 50 times, Yanma, probably one of my favorite Blue Rangers in recent times, and this was such a really good solid episode for him. I feel like that moment with Yanma that we got in the episode probably stole a lot of the spotlight from what else happened in this episode, like Extreme King-Ohger, or Jeremy's moment that he has when he gets put on court trial by Rita, and he sort of makes fun of Rita by saying, your speech was lame. Yanma stole the show. Like, the actor put a lot of heart into that scene. Really great performance, like, and I just freaking love the dude, like, really. Okay, that's enough Yanma ass kissing for this review, even though, like I said, that scene with Yanma near the end, big speech at the end, loved it. That sold it for me. But the final few minutes where Gira shows up, he's alive, he makes this big dramatic Dragon Ball Z style reference, was really freaking cool in the episode, and that's when Raculus and a bunch of other people find out that he's alive all along, and it looks like we're finally getting our Raculus and our Gira rematch in next week's episode. But not only that, Gira's getting a power-up, which was kind of teased for the movie, I think, but now he's getting it for the show. It's weird that he's getting a power-up so soon, but I guess that's the norm. I'm fairly new to keeping up with Sentai Weekly, so I guess this is when he gets his big power-up. But either way, I'm really excited to see what it looks like in the show. It's very shiny, it's very golden. We'll see what it does in motion next week, but that was a really cool dramatic entrance done by Gira, and I can't wait to see the showdown between him and Raculus in next week's episode. But anyway, guys, what did you guys think of this week's episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions, and with that said, I think I'm going to bring this video to a close. My throat's starting to hurt. I think I'm still getting sick or recovering, but I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.